Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. I'm your host, Sam Lance, and I'm joined, as always, by Jackson Bezdek. And well, Jackson, we had quite the game for Kansas's Big 12 opener against TCU. A ton of action, a ton to get into from that game. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's get right into it. Episode 15 of The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast. Well, Jackson, welcome to the Big 12 Conference and welcome to Big 12 play. What a basketball game that we were blessed with for TCU Kansas to open up the Big 12. Kansas ultimately comes out with an 83-81 win to move to 1-0 in the Big Conference, but it did not come without controversy, which we will get to here in a minute. But first, let's kind of just start with some game flow, talk about this first half. Really, I thought that Kansas played pretty decent in the first half. They shot the ball really well. Really, the thing was they just kept handing the ball to TCU in that first half. I think Kansas could have easily been up 10-plus points, maybe even 15 points the way they were shooting, but the turnovers in that first half was just killer. And DeJuan Harris in the first half, no points, 4 assists, 4 turnovers.
We scored 83 points and turned the ball over a million times, it seemed like. The offense was honestly cooking. I agree with you there. TCU hit some pretty tough shots. They're good, man. They have some guys. I didn't think they'd be a top 6-7 team in the conference, but after Saturday, you could easily convince me of that. DeJuan Harris, this is not the first time we've said that he's had some uncharacteristic turnovers. Just a couple in the first half to go back to, just bad passes straight up, just trying to force it into Hunter inside when it wasn't there, being a little careless with the ball. I'm not worried about DeJuan Harris. Let me just put that out there. Not at all. But it's just weird that this is not the first game we've seen him throw a couple of lazy passes.
Yeah, DeJuan was not the best taking care of the ball in that first half at all. And really, besides 3 players, Hunter Dickinson, KJ Adams, and Kevin McCullough, Kansas got nothing in the first half. 40 of Kansas's 41 points in the first half were scored by those 3 guys. Hunter Dickinson had 18, KJ had 12, and Kevin McCullough had 10. And Johnny Furphy, our man, had the one lone free throw in that first half for Kansas's only other point besides those 3, which is a little ridiculous.
We've been saying all year, like, we can't just rely on the core 4 in conference play. We're going to need something outside of that. Shoot, man, maybe we can. First conference game in, literally 3 guys score the entire half. Dude, I didn't even know that. That's a crazy number. Hunter started out so well, and he played so well the entire game. Both ends of the floor. I thought, at least in the first 10 minutes of the first half, he was super active on the defensive end. He was hedging really high, which he hasn't done a lot of this year, but he could tell he was fired up. And once you knock that first one down, everything just kind of falls into place. And Kevin was great as usual. KJ, were those all dunks? I want to say that KJ had. He was throwing that thing down, firing everybody up. It did seem like it, but man, that's not something you're going to see a whole lot of from any team in the country, especially one of the best teams in the country. So that's definitely something to look forward to going into this UCF game, is how Kansas tries to get other guys involved.
Yeah, I think, you talked about KJ there for a second. I think the biggest kind of moments in the first half were those KJ Adams dunks, because they got the crowd going. They got Kansas going, and he had 3 in like the span of 2 minutes. He had the one, and then they doubled Hunter in the post, and KJ flashed, threw down a 2-hand slam, and then he cleaned up the offensive glass with that crazy putback slam. He's all enraged after. It was pretty good stuff there from KJ in the first half. But yeah, 41-40 ball game at the half. Emmanuel Miller had a crap ton of points for TCU. I believe he had 15 at the break. And then the second half comes along, And you would think that Kansas would leave the turnovers in the first half.
I did.
That was not the case whatsoever. Kansas continued to turn the ball over, and Tennyson for TCU got absolutely scorching hot. He hit 1 3 to make it 47-45. And from that point, the game was just back and
Yep.
forth and back and forth. Like right
Mhm.
whenever Kansas would take the lead, TCU would end up taking the lead. In this game, in total, there were 26 lead changes, which
Yeah,
is
it sure felt like that.
absolutely wild. But yeah, Kansas in that second half, it seemed like Bill Self was trying a bit of everything. We'll kind of get into that later, but at one point in that first half, he had El Marco in, and then he's like, this isn't working. Went to Furphy, and then Furphy was in for a little bit. He went to Jamari, and then he went to Timberlake. And I actually tweeted something out, uh, like right whenever the first half kind of, I think it was at the under 16 timeout. I tweeted
Mhm.
out like, man, Kansas has got to get something out of Furphy and Timberlake this game. And then, like, literally right after I tweet that, Timberlake has that transition layup, hits
Yep.
a three, and then Furphy hits another huge three to give Kansas
Mhm.
58-57 lead. So, what do we kind of like about seeing Timberlake and Furphy make some big plays in that second half?
It's always great. It's great to see Nick knock one down. It always is. Just that's just going to help his confidence so much moving forward. I honestly like that Bill was trying, I mean, literally throwing everything at the chalkboard. It was, I mean, Marco played for 2.5 minutes in the second half, turns it over, subbed out. Furphy's in. He picks up a foul and was in foul trouble the whole game. So then he has to come out. Jamari played 9 seconds, I think, double
Did
dribbles.
not play very long.
I mean, and then Timberlake comes in. I look, I like it from Bill. You've got to find the guy that's going to give you something. And in a game with TCU, where I mean they're hitting shot after shot, Tennyson was scorching, man.
It's insane.
You've got to find a way to try and match that. And if the other four are playing fine, and you've got El Marco turning it over, Jamari's turning it over, you can't play Furphy, he's got 3 fouls. Like you got to go to Timberlake, and if Timberlake starts messing up, then hey, let's go back to El Marco. Like you just have to find anything. And shoot, we ran out of guys at one point. I honestly thought we were gonna get some Parker Hunter combined minutes. I mean, it doesn't really match up well with how TCU plays because they go fast. They love going in transition. Killed us on that in the first half. But yeah, Furphy hitting a three was huge too, right after Timberlake. That's so big for like the crowd, and
Yep.
that's such a home court advantage is when you have your bench guys come in and hit shots. Like that's going to juice everybody up, and especially in a game where I mean TCU is hitting shots that are like taking all the air out of the building. I mean, just you play great defense for 24 seconds, and then they hit something, and it's oh my gosh.
Kinnison had 5 threes in the second half, 19 points in the second half alone. And all those threes, I feel, gave TCU the lead. Like
Yeah,
almost
it seemed
all.
like it, right? Or cut it to one or something like, or
Yeah.
extended it to five or something like that. I mean, he was great, and that's probably the best game he's going to play all year. But he's also the guy that you're putting that fifth extra guy on the El Marco and the Timberlake, and they're not playing well. If you're not playing well offensively, the only thing you can try and do is play hard on the defensive end, and it just didn't matter. He was he was money.
Yeah. Yeah. Jamie Dixon actually said after the game that he's the best shooter TCU has had since Desmond Bain, which is
Ooh.
quite the praise from him. But let's get into these last 4 minutes of the game now, Jackson. Again, it went back and forth, really trading baskets all throughout that last 4 minutes. And then at one point, TCU has the 79-77 lead. Kansas, biggest possession of the game, down two. And Kansas tries to force it into Hunter Dickinson.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely terrible pass by Kevin McCullough. He will be the first to tell you that that was just an awful, awful play. Dickinson, obviously can't handle it. Ernest Uday was doing a great job fronting the post, and KU turns it over. So we thought. And instead, Hunter Dickinson, he gets hit in the mouth by Ernest. He goes to the ground, and the refs stop play, and they end up going to the monitor, and they end up calling a flagrant on this play. And with that, instead of TCU up two, with the ball about to go into the fast break, Kansas gets free throws and the ball. And with that, Hunter Dickinson ties the game. DeJuan Harris, he makes a crazy, crazy floater. Like, I don't know how DeJuan got that one to go. What a shot for DeJuan to put Kansas up by 2. Then on the other end, Micah Peavy gets a putback, and we're all tied up again, but under 30 seconds for Kansas. Pretty much got the last look at this one. Beautiful drawn play for Hunter Dickinson. They knew Bill Self said post game he knew TCU was going to front the post. They did. Kansas was able to throw it over the top. Hunter Dickinson took a dribble. Was not a travel, by the way. He took a dribble, layup. Jameer Nelson couldn't get the shot to fall on the other end. And there you have it. Kansas 83-81 win, 1-0 in Big 12 play. But Jackson, we got to talk about this call.
Yeah, we do.
What do we think?
First of all, that play to Hunter, TCU's backside help was slow all game. I think that was like the third time we'd run that. So, and like also down the stretch, super nice to have a guy like Hunter Dickinson when you need a basket. Like, hey, he's really, really good. Let's just give it to him 3 feet away from the basket. All right, the call. First of all, if Kevin doesn't force that, this doesn't even matter. I mean, that was just a bad pass. That was happening all game for Kansas. Look, I mean, that is a flagrant foul. It is. I had a tweet about it and it got a lot of traction. And from what I gathered, a lot of people once after the game, it was a way bigger deal, I think. And then I think the next day when people watched it again, you kind of get away from the emotion and all of that right as the game ends. I think it's a pretty clear flagrant one. And the reason they stopped play is because I'm assuming Hunter's on the ground, probably writhing in pain, and the TCU guard stops and looks back at him. That's when they blow the whistle. If TCU just goes and doesn't look back, I don't know if they blow that whistle. They might still go back and look at it after the TCU scores and still call a flagrant. But I mean, still, just super unfortunate turn of events for TCU. Like, that's the only way to put it. They didn't get screwed. The refs aren't, or Kansas isn't paying off the refs. I just can't believe we're in 2024 still talking about this. It's insane. I mean, Ernest flails his arm back and hits Hunter in the face. That's a flagrant one foul, especially when he's going forward and he's swinging his arm backwards. That's not a basketball move. I've played hundreds of basketball games. I've never once thought to do that or done that or seen anyone do that in my life unless you're trying to injure the guy. And Ernest isn't doing that, of course, but he's a big guy and doesn't really have control of his body. We know this very well after he played for us last year. It's a flagrant one, and they made the right call. And it's honestly confusing to me now that it's still even a question. I mean, just go, if you haven't seen the video since the game, just go back and watch it. It honestly looks worse full speed than it does slow-mo, in my opinion. But just if you're still upset about it, just go back and watch it. It's a flagrant one. It sucks for TCU that it had to happen this way. It sucks that they stopped going and they missed out on a 5-on-4. Jamie Dixon has a right to be upset at just this situation, but the officials got it right. Most of the college basketball analysts agreed with the officials. The actual officiating bubble, like the people who came back and looked at it, they said it was a foul and the refs did the right thing. So let's just put that to bed. It was the correct call. And yeah, it was crazy that had happened though, because I mean, because I wasn't really watching it as it was going on. I'm watching Ernest dribble the ball up. So I didn't see it on my first watch. So I was kind of like, oh man, no way they give us that flagrant.
On first watch, Jackson, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was a terrible call. Whenever I first saw it, I was like, wow, no chance they just called that. No chance that they just
Hunter did sell it. He did. He
but
did. It's not a flop. First of all, if you get popped in the mouth, I would love to see you not fall over or cover your face or be in pain. That's ridiculous. But he sold the tumble a little bit.
This was my thing with the Jackson. I just think let's reverse roles. Let's say instead Kansas is up by 2 points, right? And this call happens, right? Hunter Dickinson hits Ernest in the face, right? Play stops, whatever.
Right.
I don't think Kansas fans would have been able to just handle the fact that it was a flagrant. Like if the roles were reversed, I think everybody would have had an aneurysm. Like, and
I personally would have.
I can't imagine what TCU fans are thinking, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Seth Greenberg said after talking to a number of referee supervisors that it was determined the call was correctly officiated. Bill Self post game, he said, I had no idea what was going on until I saw it. Then it was an easy call. But I
Mhm.
thought Hunter sold it really well, and if he hadn't sold it, they might have not stopped play. But Bill says it was an obvious call, and it was unfortunate because it was intentional, but there was definitely a swing and Hunter got hit in the mouth. So
There, the
I
difference
agree now.
between
It was an obvious call. Fran Fraschilla does not agree. And of course, right after having him on the pod, he makes a bunch of Kansas fans mad. But
but yeah, and then Fran was calling for that travel too. I guess if you want to like super slow it down, maybe it was, but
I
dude,
don't think so. I think Fran didn't see the dribble. The Hunter
that would
dribble.
be an
I saw
unbelievable
somebody on
travel.
Twitter the opposite way, like facing
Oh,
Hunter.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he did not travel.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, so that's I'm glad you have because it's hard to tell with because he's in front of the TCU guy. You can definitely see the ball hit the ground though. But you might be right. I would be upset. Roles are reversed. I would be upset, really upset that they stopped play. That would be my whole big thing. Like once you see the replay, like it's the difference between a flagrant one and a flagrant two is the intent. Flagrant one literally means it was accidental. So everybody's saying like, oh, it was accidental. It should have never been called. What call isn't accidental in basketball? Do you think Dewan was purposely turning the ball over, or that Furphy is purposely making 4 fouls in 8 minutes? Like, dude, it's all accidental. Like, of course it was, but that's why there's a flagrant one, and that's why there's a flagrant two. Because if it is, like, if Ernest did mean to do that, then that's a flagrant two, 2 shots, ball, and he's gone. Right? That's why you make the difference. That's why it's not just like a technical foul anymore. It's the literal reason we have flagrant one and flagrant two is for that situation.
yeah. Now it's time to talk about just kind of some headlines from this one. And Kansas's bigs went absolutely crazy in this game. Hunter Dickinson goes off with his buddy Marty
Mm-hmm.
Moosh of
Already.
Barstool and attendance. But yeah, Hunter Dickinson in this game, 30 points, 11 rebounds, 13 of 20 from the field. To me, the really Hunter was making a lot of the shots in this year that we know he can make, and that he's just hasn't been finishing this year. And he
Yeah.
made it seem like every single one in this
Mhm.
game. And then KJ Adams, another monster performance, his first career double, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 7 of 8 from the field, so efficient, and 4 of 5 from the line, including 2 really big ones late in the game. He also had 2 steals in this game. But man, just I think the 3 to 5 position, like I never really thought of it this way, but the 3 to 5 of this team is best in the country, I'd say. Wing, power forward, center. It doesn't get better than Kansas right now. And all of them, I think, are kind of learning how to truly be like physically dominant together
Mhm.
now, because that's what they were in this TCU game. Rebounding, offensively drawing fouls, everything what was through KJ, Hunter, and Kev in this game.
I thought that was Hunter's best game of the season. I outside of the maybe the Kentucky game.
Kentucky. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was his best. This was his best game other than that one. You're right. The and Greg talked about this too, how, a lot of teams have really good 3 or 4 guys, right? But a lot of those teams are also like, those are 3 guards and a wing or 2 point guards, 2 big men. Ours is perfectly, mapped out to where we fill each position on the floor. And Bill he's hammering that. I mean, having just KJ is such a weapon, dude. There's no one in the country like him. I've never seen a player like him. He always seems to be in the right spot at the right time on the offensive end. That's why he gets so many dunks. He knows this offense so well. Kevin's a pro, man. Kevin, he's just a professional.
It's time. I tweeted this out. Like it's literally time to stop talking about Kevin McCullough being a first team All American. Like that is out the window.
He
Kevin McCullough, if he's not a first team All American
yeah.
at the end of the season, what are you doing,
He
AP?
must have had a really
He
bad next
he's in
17
the National
games.
Player of the Year conversation for me now.
I think
He's
he should
second.
be too. I think he should be too. I think the past couple games his shooting efficiency has tanked a little bit, and if we're talking about National Player of the Year, that might hurt his
Hasn't
case a little
mattered
bit.
because he just gets to the
But
line
he
and makes all of his free throws.
right, exactly. But if you're looking at Player of the Year and you're looking against guys like Edie, it's so unfair because he's going to shoot 70% from the field, and you're like, well, I mean, you're 7'4", whatever. Kevin is just. I'm so excited for him to keep going through Big 12. I think he's going to be Big 12 Player of the Year personally, and I still think Kansas is going to win the conference personally. And I also Kevin McCullough is a first round draft pick. He might be a top 20 draft pick, Sam, and that's kind of unheard of for fifth year guys who test the waters twice.
Yeah.
That he's going to be the first of his mold to really do that, and especially in a year where the freshmen aren't popping off the screen and the mock drafts are all over the place. Kevin is going to be just I would want to draft Kevin McCullough. He comes on the court, he just knows how to play basketball. Outside of his terrible pass to Hunter at the end of the game, I thought he was I thought he was great, even though he was missing a ton of threes. I don't even care when he misses a three, man. I know he's going to get it back somehow, whether it's on defense or on offense.
I see him fitting into the NBA exactly like Christian Brown and
Yeah, me
going
too.
potentially to a team like the Nuggets where he can just come right in and be
Mhm.
that guy off the bench. But let's change direction here and let's talk about the Kansas's 1 and 2 spot in the lineup. DeJuan Harris and Marco Jackson. DeJuan actually ended up with 10 points in this game, but overall, the three of them, 10 points, 3 of 11, 0 of 2 from 3. 4 of DeJuan's 10 points came from the free throw line. But man, I want to first, DeJuan's DeJuan. He didn't have a great first half. And, Bill even said it. DeJuan had a terrible first half by DeJuan's standards. And then this is why I still believe in DeJuan. He hits the hardest shot of the game, and then he makes a pass to Hunter Dickinson to win the game.
Yep.
Like DeJuan Harris, I'm not worried about him whatsoever. But I want to talk about Marco a little bit. First of all, hey, you fans, all of the hate on Twitter from this game on Marco Jackson, just stop it. Like, I don't know how many times we've talked about him, being a baby. This is his first Big 12
Yep.
game. He's a
Yep.
baby. He's been playing. This is the most competitive basketball he's played in his life, is these Big 12 games. And yeah, he didn't have a great game. But guess what? He's a freshman playing in his first league game. He's not going to be perfect by
Honestly, him playing so well against Wichita State kind of hurt him for
yeah,
Saturday because I
exactly.
think everybody. I mean, we're both expecting the leap, but I mean, we still understand that conference play is a different animal, man. And you've almost kind of got to go back and like refine yourself as a player because it's just so much more physical. The calls aren't going to be as, they're not going to call everything as much when, especially playing off the ball like El Marco does. I like when, like, especially TCU goes, scores, quick bucket. Oh, Marco takes it out and goes. I really like seeing him do that. But I think everyone was just, oh, he puts up 12 against Wichita State. It's El Marco time now. He's going to average 15 a game for the rest of the year. He's not. That's not going to be who he is this season. He's a fantastic player and he's going to have an incredible basketball career. But right now, he is still trying to figure out how to navigate his way through Big 12 conference play.
What I liked, Marco Jackson, first of all, 2 assists, 1 turnover. It's not like he was making a bunch of just god
Right.
awful plays, And he was 0 of 4 from the field, 0 of 1 from 3. He still, to me, I liked a lot of the plays that he was making offensively, as far as just taking the ball and going and trying to make something happen. Like, it was good to see that building off Wichita State, El Marco wasn't scared to do that against TCU. Now, did it work out very well? No, he didn't have a good game, but just seeing that, I think, is a positive. And again, El Marco, he's young, he's fine, guys. He's going to be okay. Kansas, though, still winning this game with basically a nothing burger from the 1 and 2 spot is
Oh, I
just
know.
kind of crazy. Like,
It is crazy. I want
it's
to
absolutely nuts.
quick shout out to Mike Vernon, friend of the pod. He had the funniest tweet. He was like, I want to tweet something bad about DeJuan, but I know he's going to make the 2 biggest plays of the game in the second half, and I'm going to look like an idiot.
And
And then
then
that's exactly what happened. That is literally exactly what happened. And all 4 of his free throws came within 3 minutes in a really tight game. That's experience right there. That's a point guard who's won a national championship. I don't care what his free throw percentage is, man. I want him at the line. If the game's close late, that's a guy you want at the line.
yeah, last thing to kind of wrap up here, we've talked about a bunch of things here, but the last thing to talk about is kind of just the bench, Self pushing every button, five through eight. We talked about this a little bit previously, but yeah, at one point in that second half, it was right around the first media timeout. El Marco wasn't cutting it. I believe El Marco had his only turnover, like right before
Was
his really bad turnover. Jamari comes in, or no, sorry, it was Furphy first, and then Furphy fouls. Furphy goes out. Jamari comes in. He was in for about 9 seconds, and then Bill Self goes with Timberlake, pushing like 4 buttons in the matter of a minute. And why? Because the fourth option right now, it's Bill Self said it himself. We're laboring, right? This is the quote from Bill Self. El Marco didn't have an effective game, and Johnny and Nick are both fine. But offensively, you turn it over and it leads to layups. It's hard to keep playing and staying in. So we're all for somebody stepping up, but we're not going to win all of our games with 4 guys doing all the scoring. That's the way it was today. We need El Marco to come through and do some things offensively and be a stopper defensively. But today, we really only had those 3 that were effective on the offensive end. So it's clear that Bill Self kind of wants El Marco to take that kind of initiative to be that fourth option offensively. But Nick Timberlake kind of took that initiative a little bit in this game. Bill Self said he thought out of all of those guys that Nick Timberlake was the best without question. He made a couple 2 good plays in defensive transition, stopping the ball, making TCU not score easily. And then the layup he made, the big shot he made, he had that one just like, what are you doing? Turnover trying to feed KJ. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Like, that was just like, wow. Like, wow. That was pretty bad. And the turnovers, again, we mentioned were a thing all game. Kansas matched its season high of 18 turnovers in this game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 18
Yeah,
turnovers, which matched the Marquette game. We know
was
how
Marquette.
that went. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what do we think, Jackson, just kind of 5 through 8 this game, how that kind of unfolded?
Sam, you and I and everybody else, it seems like, spend so much time worrying about who's going to be this 5th guy. What are we going to from our bench? But look, Bill Self recognizes this problem, right? He knows better than anybody what buttons to push at what time. And with Gurley telling us that Timberlake's lights out at practice, it makes more sense of why Bill keeps going to Timberlake. Look, none of us go to practice. We have no idea what's going on in practice. And that is so much of the rotations that Bill makes for his games is who is competing all 4 days of practice this week? Because I can count on you because I know you're busting your ass right now. And that's why we see Jamari in spurts because I guarantee you Jamari's busting it at practice. He's looking at Timberlake like, I am coming for your minutes. And look, I think El Marco is going to be just fine. Like we said, we honestly, I didn't think Marco played a bad game. He was
I
just kind
didn't
of a
either.
zero.
He was
He's
getting
just
way
kind of
too
a
much
zero,
hate on Twitter, way too much hate.
Yeah, he wasn't a negative by any means. One turnover that
He
really
was
didn't matter.
-6 though. He was the
All right, plus minus was
worst
negative.
plus minus, but yeah, you know how we all feel about plus minus.
Like plus minus in a single game is kind of silly. But I thought he was fine. I actually thought Timberlake played well too. I expect him to make that silly turnover. I was listening to the show where we were talking about the resolution, and I was like, anything over 5 points is incredible from Nick. And the literal next game, he gets exactly 5 points. But look, I need more out of Johnny Furphy. And I think we would get more, but he's just Gurley talked about it. He's got a foul problem, man. He's a little bit slower than the guys he's guarding. He's a little bit weaker than the guys he's guarding. Not his fault. He's a child coming from Australia he's the weight room at KU that they're using is probably the biggest one he's ever seen. And the drills they're doing in practice is the fastest he's probably ever had to move. Boot camp was probably super. I don't even think he was there for boot camp. So that actually might explain
I'm
it.
not sure on that. Yeah.
I don't think he was, so maybe that makes sense. But he's physically not quite there yet in terms of Big 12 play, which is really unfortunate because in terms of talent, he is super crucial for Kansas's bench unit. Like I said last episode, we kind of need him to be getting 10 points a game. Because look, the Kevin Hunter and KJ, they're not going to be able to do this every game. They were very, very rested coming out of the holiday break. They're not. I mean, we got a game on Wednesday, then boom Saturday, then boom Tuesday, and that's how it is for 2 months, right? So
No
there's gonna be
breaks in the Big
games.
12.
Welcome to the Big 12, baby. There's gonna be games where we're gonna be begging for this bench unit to give us some action, and I think it's got to come from Furphy because I mean he's a 6'8" guard. He can shoot it over anybody. He's just got to stop fouling, man. He had 4 fouls in 10 minutes yesterday. You can't be doing that.
Murphy and Timberlake are the answers. I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point. If those two can come in and make shots, and for Kansas, like this Kansas team is gonna go far in March.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you have it. Kansas 83-81 win over TCU, a 33rd straight conference opening win, which is an absolutely insane streak. Just another
The
Bill
Big
Self,
12. Oh, you go. Say your
just
quote.
another Bill Self streak. That's just absolutely insane. But yeah.
The Big 12 on Saturday was on crack. We had a Texas loses at home, upset. BYU loses at home, upset. What is BYU? We don't even know.
Cincinnati is, I think we are very, very underestimating Cincinnati. I think
I agree.
Cincinnati is a really good team.
I agree.
We didn't talk to Fran much about them, but yeah,
I
Cincinnati's
think
going
they're
to be
solid.
dangerous. That's not a fluke win by any means.
No, but is BYU like is their record? Does that tell the whole story of their team? We don't know yet. Our game goes down to the wire. Oklahoma State takes Baylor to overtime. Like
Yeah.
every game was going crazy, and that every Saturday when you turn on ESPN and look at the Big 12 games, they will all be like this every
It's gonna
week.
be nuts, dude. This season is going to be nuts. But
Mhm.
yeah. Kansas, again, 83-81 win. Hunter Dickinson, 30-11. DeJuan Harris, 10 points, 8 assists. Marco Jackson, no points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Kevin McCullough finishes with 16, shooting 6 of 16 from the field, 5 rebounds and 3 assists. And then you got KJ Adams, which I think him and Hunter Dickinson players of the game in this one with 18 and 10. And then you got 4 off the bench from Furphy, including one of the biggest threes of the game, and 5 off the bench from Timberlake. 83-81 win. Kansas moving on to UCF, which we will go over pretty briefly here in the under 4 timeout. So we'll see you soon, y'all.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook for this college basketball season. We're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks and predictions throughout the college basketball season. And we are going to have special offers for you, the listeners and the viewers on the Field of 68 each and every week during the season. If you haven't signed up with BetMGM yet, use the bonus code FIELD1500 and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager on BetMGM Sportsbook. Here's what you got to do. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD1500. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if that bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FIELD1500 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient for me when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly. When crossing state borders, just log into your existing account instead of having to create new accounts in each state that you go to. And most importantly, I got to let you know, we do have some fun stuff coming up for this college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boosts, my personal favorite, parlay odds boosts. So download the BetMGM app today.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. Really quick, we're just going to go over this UCF game here at the under 4. Kansas plays UCF on the road on Wednesday. 6 p.m. Central Time tip-off. If you're making your way down, the game will be at 7 Eastern Time. UCF, what do we know about them, Jackson? What do we think about this game coming up?
Well, they just got blown out by K-State on Saturday, Sam. They lost by 25, and Tyler Perry, great game for the Cats. He had 25. really efficient from the field. He just kind of went off, honestly. He was honestly due for one of those games for them. But UCF is honestly a pretty solid defensive team. They're 27th in KenPom in the entire country, only 87th in, their actual rating. But I think, Kansas is going to have to lock in on offense. They're going to have to run sets and really focus on getting Dickinson the ball. UCF, they've got a 7-footer that comes off the bench. Their starting big is like 6'10", 240. So they've got guys they can throw at Hunter. And they've got this one kid, Jalen Sellers. He's averaging like 17 a game for them, but he's shooting a ton of shots. I think he's averaging about 14 or 15 shot attempts a game.
He's only shooting 25% from three. 40.
Yeah, his efficiency isn't great, but he puts the ball in the basket. So I don't think that, this is one of those games that, especially on the road, for Kansas with sights set on winning the Big 12 every single year, this is a game you got to take care of business. New team coming in the Big 12. Your rival just blows them out. So you got to take care of business. It's only Kansas' second actual road game, which is interesting. I am personally excited to see what the environment is like down in Orlando. I think they're going to be fired up. It's their first time hosting a Big 12 game, and they got big bad Kansas coming in. That's kind of, perfect scenario for the new bloods of the conference. But yeah, Kansas is going to have to play well. This isn't it is a take care of business game. This is a team Kansas will be favored by multiple points. If you want to win the Big 12, this is one of the road games you have to win. Because you take care of business at home, right? You go 9-0 at home. All right, now we got 9 road games. Let's figure out what do you got. You got to go 5-4 in those 9 games, maybe even 6-3 this year. So this is one you can't lose, because then you got to make it up on the back half against somebody really good. But it's not a pushover team either. We talked with Fran, they had that loss against Stetson. Not a great loss.
Really, the Kansas State getting blown out by 25, that's a pretty bad loss as well.
It's a pretty bad loss. They shot terribly from the field, and that's the thing. If Kansas plays well on the defensive end, they're not going to have a chance. They're barely in the top 200 in KenPom offense. And against K-State, they barely cracked 50 points, and they were like 23% from 3 as a team. But, we say all this. They're going 4 out of their first 6 from downtown against the Hawks on Wednesday. That's just how it goes.
Yep.
But it's not a pushover team, but it's a take. You got to go down to Orlando and get a W. You just have to.
Yep, there you have it, guys. Kansas, UCF, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central. We will be back here on the Hum after that game, and then we'll be previewing Oklahoma, who comes into Allen Fieldhouse on Saturday. I actually have my family coming into town this week. I'm going to take my little brother to the game, so that should be fun. First up, though, UCF, and then that Oklahoma game. We'll be back probably Thursday. We'll be back here on the Hum. So we'll see you then, guys. Thanks for joining us today. And thank you, everybody who's been tuning in recently. We've gone over 15K viewers our last 2 episodes. I cannot thank you guys enough for watching. And we're having a ton of fun here on the Hum. And we got just tons of more content coming for you guys the rest of the season. So
Sam and I would do this if we had 5 listeners, but we love it so much. And it's incredible that people care and that people are watching. It means the world to us. So shout out to all of you. You're amazing.
Yep. Thank